you cannot decide the affairs of the forest. It's very likely that the police can protect each other. So that many cases are compromised, and the police have not been held to account for the brutality they have committed. I don't know what you think about those recommendations, apart from your 5 recommendations that you've given. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hassan.
Just as a note, as we oppose the deployment of our police service into Haiti, I'll ask us ourselves as politicians and members to be very careful not to set the ground for very hostile reception. Because what we have been doing, some of us here, is to link the abuses we allege here as probably the conduct of these police officers on arrival at Haiti. We are carelessly putting them into harm's way. Once our men and women in uniform are out of this country, whether we agree with the process or not, the least we owe them is some levels of discipline in how we refer to them, so that as we debate the issues, provide for their security, provide for their training, or oppose the issues, I think we must not equate our political biases into putting them into harm's way. So we must be very restrained, because I'm seeing a situation, if some of these utterances, which have come from this committee severally, go viral. I'm told some of those groups are armed. You could be preparing for a very unnecessary contest. It's not going to be a blind mission. I'm not at liberty also to discuss it, but it's not going to be a blind mission. It's going to be done in a manner that the safety and security of our officers will be guaranteed. The government of Kenya is not led by fools. They will make it appear like we will just take 1,000 men and women and just put them there for sacrifice. Number 2, I never speak this way, but sometimes I would hope for you also to interrogate some of these demonstrations in a manner, because today I'm talking to peers in the human rights fraternity. They know that I wrote the Charter on Human Rights in the lead up to our elections. We said our first pillar is implementation of the Constitution. And you saw the directives of the President upon election as President of the Republic of Kenya. How is it possible, and be fair, that a demonstration or demonstrators are carrying weapons? Not necessarily ballistic weapons like guns, but they are carrying stones and machetes. These guys prepare themselves. I was there. I know what these demos are. I planned them. I know what we tell each other. Go burn these tires here. Sijui mtu fulani ndio ataongoza pale, yule ataongoza pale. And half the time there is a confrontation between the police. Yes, maybe sometimes the force used is disproportionate, but even where these demonstrations have been left to go on, we have seen, even the time when they said, let them demonstrate. Shops have been looted. Infrastructure has been vandalized. We need to have a real conversation about these issues. And then tell our friends, when they go to a demonstration, you cannot use constitutional means to achieve unconstitutional objectives. But purporting to take oath that this is the time for a revolution under the guise of Article 37 is not the intent of Article 37. Number 3, the Constitution has more than one Article 37. It has the sovereign rights. It has other articles of the Constitution, the right to vote, the respect for institutions of the state, including the Supreme Court when it speaks itself. I was very surprised. One of the civil society organizations which monitored the elections told me, hey, this election was free and fair. You guys actually beat this other team. A few months later, he tells me, oh, you know, if there's an allegation by one party, then it needs to be dispensed of. And I'm thinking to myself, on what basis? So even, I'm not saying even the neutrality of civil society in terms of how it anchors itself in the new discourse, will speak very much to how civil society is then able to navigate the new terrain. Gone are the days when you'll just go to an international community actor and tell them the UDA government or the Kenya Kwanza government is a dictator government. These are men and women. We also engage. Those representatives also have the intelligence agencies. They also have the information. I've come to realize, actually, the reason sometimes government is always on the back foot is because when you're in government, always you are expected to talk less, and even what you have, you reveal as a very measured way. But I can tell you, if you go and get part of the documentation and some of the information that even our counterparts have, that's why sometimes you see their responses are measured. There was a time they will say, in no uncertain terms, that this was wrong. But they understand the design to try and precipitate a crisis so that you divert the country's attention from the economics and try to brand the KK government as a dictatorship. That is not true. And I think those are the kind of things that, as we prosecute in the new discourse, you have friends in this government, they engage at various levels, and I can tell you without a doubt, sometimes we even ask very hard questions internally. I am not sure whether that evidence is some of it, the credibility to it, but I'll finalize by one thing, and Rajab there can bear me witness. We were defending some terrorism suspects. Unfortunately, these terrorism suspects were arrested alongside one of the human rights defenders. When they were in custody, the revelations they made, when this man was released, he told us some of the things are actually true. How they would transport ballistic missiles, how they would organize, how they would get, you remember those testimonies, how they would get firearms from our neighbors. And when Kamwende told us, we just didn't believe him because we thought it was Kamwende. So Kamwende is lying to us. He is concocting stories. But trust me, at many of these scenes and some of these organizational frameworks for this latest wave of demonstrations, why are people talking about burning tires and carrying this and these guys to barricade these ones and these ones to stone cars that are going to work? And this information sometimes is available to the security agencies. And they also have a DTP, the duty to protect other Kenyans. I do agree where there is excessive use of force, where there is unjustified executions, then those have to be dealt with within the purview of law. But talk to our friends, that demonstrations cannot achieve the ends that the elections cannot achieve.
Well, thank you, Omar. I think we'll hear one day. Did you want to say something, Co-Chair?
You can go first.
Yes, let me say this and start from where my friend Omar has left. Demonstrations, of course, are a way of expressing oneself and properly guaranteed under the Constitution and enabling laws. There's no doubt, really, regardless of the objective.